Gia worked as a scientist on a distant planet called Nexus 9. She studied the plants that grew there. Most people thought no animals lived on this planet. Gia spent her days walking through caves and forests, looking at strange plants and taking notes about them. On this day, Gia was exploring a new cave she had never visited before. The walls of the cave glowed blue from special moss that made its own light. She wore a protective suit that helped her breathe and kept her safe. As she walked deeper into the cave, the small device in her hand started to beep. This device helped her find interesting things. It was picking up something unusual ahead. "This is Gia calling the base," she said into her radio. "I'm finding strange energy readings about 200 meters into the eastern cave." After some crackling sounds, a voice answered, "We hear you, Gia. Be careful and keep talking to us. What kind of readings are you getting?" "They're strange," Gia replied. "Almost like electrical signals, but they follow patterns like something alive would make. I've never seen anything like this before." Gia turned a corner in the cave and stopped suddenly. The cave opened up into a huge room. What she saw made her freeze in place. Floating in the middle of the big room was a giant crystal. It glowed with purple and gold light. Inside the crystal was a creature that looked like a huge insect with see-through skin. The creature was as big as a small space shuttle. Her device went crazy, showing complex brain patterns coming from the crystal cocoon. This wasn't just any creature. It was smart, maybe even controlling many minds at once. Scientists had talked about creatures like this but had never found one before. Before Gia could tell the base what she found, a loud rumbling shook the cave. Large, pointy rocks began falling from the ceiling. The entrance she had come through collapsed, sending dust everywhere. The crystal containing the creature started to crack. Its protective shell was breaking because of the cave-in. Without thinking, Gia ran toward the endangered creature. Her training told her to run away and stay safe, but something pushed her to help. Using her equipment and emergency supports from her backpack, she made the area around the crystal stable, stopping it from breaking completely. When the dust settled, Gia found herself alone with the mysterious being. She was cut off from the surface and her oxygen supply was limited. She hadn't just found a new species, she had saved it from being destroyed. What she didn't know was that this kind act would change everything about how humans and aliens would talk to each other in the future. It would also change her own life forever. The cave was quiet now except for the sound of small rocks still falling. Gia checked her oxygen meter. She had enough air for about 10 hours if she stayed calm and breathed normally. She looked at the crystal structure she had just saved. The cracks had stopped spreading, but the damage was clear. "Base, can you hear me?" She tried again on her radio. Only static answered her. The thick rock walls blocked her signal. Gia took a deep breath and began to think like the scientist she was. She needed to assess her situation and make a plan. First, she would study this amazing discovery while waiting for rescue. The research team would notice when she didn't return and would send help. She approached the crystal carefully. Up close, she could see that the insect-like creature inside had many legs folded against its body. Its skin seemed to shift colors like an oil slick in sunlight. Most interesting were its eyes. Large compound eyes like those of earth insects. But there were dozens of them, covering much of its head in different sizes. Gia took out her scanner and began to take readings. The energy patterns were unlike anything in the scientific database. They seemed almost like brainwaves, but far more complex, like thousands of brains thinking together. "What are you?" she whispered, not expecting an answer. The creature's nearest eye seemed to turn slightly toward her voice. Gia stepped back in surprise. Was it aware of her? She spent the next few hours documenting everything she could about the creature and its crystal home. Her excitement helped her ignore her growing hunger and the dropping temperature in the cave. At hour 6, Gia noticed something strange. The cracks in the crystal were getting smaller. The crystal seemed to be healing itself. She moved closer to observe this unexpected development. As she leaned in for a better look, one of the creature's limbs twitched inside the crystal. Gia jumped back, nearly tripping over the rocky ground. The creature was becoming active. More movements followed. The being inside the crystal was slowly waking up. Gia's scientific curiosity fought with her natural caution. She should keep her distance from an unknown alien life form, but this might be the most important discovery in human history. By hour 8, Gia's oxygen was running low. Her breathing became more difficult. She sat down against a rock wall, still watching the crystal. The creature inside was definitely moving more now, its limbs stretching as if testing them after a long sleep. "I hope someone finds us both," Gia said to the creature, her voice weak. "You're too important to stay hidden down here." As her vision began to blur from lack of oxygen, Gia thought she saw the crystal glow brighter. The light pulsed in a rhythm that seemed almost like a heartbeat. With her last conscious moments, Gia saw a small crack open in the crystal. A thin limb, delicate despite its size, extended toward her. It stopped just short of touching her helmet. Gia's last thought before darkness took her was that she had found something wonderful, a truly alien intelligence. She only wished she would live long enough to tell others about it. What Gia didn't know then was that her discovery was more significant than finding any ordinary alien. She had saved the queen of a vast hive-mind species, a being who controlled thousands of smaller creatures through mental connections. And in their culture, anyone who saved the queen became royalty themselves. As Gia lost consciousness, the crystal opened further. Small insect-like creatures began to pour out from hidden passages in the cave walls. They gathered around Gia's still form, following orders from their queen. They would not let their savior die. They had ways to keep her alive, even if those ways would change her forever. The rescue team would eventually break through to this chamber, but they would not find what they expected. By then, Gia's transformation would already have begun. Gia woke up slowly. Her head hurt and she felt strange. At first, she thought she was back at the base in her bed. Then she remembered the cave, the crystal, and the creature inside it. She should be dead. Her oxygen had run out. Gia opened her eyes and looked around. She was still in the cave, but something was different. Her helmet was gone, yet she could breathe. The air felt thick and sweet in her lungs. How is this possible? The crystal that had held the insect creature was now open. It looked like a flower with 6 crystal petals spread wide. The creature was no longer inside. "Hello?" Gia called out, her voice echoing through the cave. "Is anyone here?" A soft humming sound filled the air. Small lights began to appear around the cave walls. As Gia's eyes adjusted, she saw they were not lights at all. They were tiny versions of the large insect creature, each one glowing with its own inner light. Hundreds of them covered the walls, watching her. Gia sat up slowly. She felt different. Her body seemed lighter, and her mind felt strange, as if it was bigger somehow. "You are awake. Good." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Gia looked around but saw no one who could have spoken. "Who said that?" "Where are you?" she asked. "I am here," said the voice. From behind the open crystal, a figure emerged. It looked almost human in shape, but not quite. It had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head, but its skin glowed faintly and its eyes were too large with too many colors in them. "My name is Day," the figure said. "I have taken this shape to make talking with you easier." Gia tried to stand but felt dizzy. Day moved forward and helped her up. "What happened to me?" Gia asked. "My oxygen ran out. I should be dead." "The Queen saved you," Day said simply. "Just as you saved her." "The Queen?" Gia was confused. "The one in the crystal. The one you protected from the falling rocks. She is our queen. She controls all of us." Day pointed to the small glowing insects on the walls. "We are the hive. We are many bodies, but one mind." Gia tried to understand. "A hive mind? Like bees or ants on Earth. Similar, but more connected. We share thoughts. We share memories. We share everything." Gia's scientist mind was full of questions. "But how am I breathing? Where is my suit?" "Your suit was damaged. The Queen changed you so you could breathe our air. Small helpers live in your lungs now. They turn our air into air you can use. Gia should have been scared by this news, but she felt strangely calm. Changed me? How? The Queen put a small part of herself inside you. That is how we saved you. That is how we talk to you now. Suddenly, Gia understood the strange feeling in her mind. You're in my head? You can hear my thoughts? Only some, Day said. Only what you want to share. The connection is new. It will grow stronger. Gia sat down on a smooth rock. This was too much to take in. I need to contact my team. They must think I'm dead. They do, Day confirmed. They tried to dig through the fallen rocks, but they could not reach this place. They left 3 days ago. 3 days? Gia was shocked. I've been here for 3 days. Changing your body to breathe our air took time, Day explained. The Queen had to be careful. She had never changed a human before. Gia tried to process this information. She was trapped in a cave with alien creatures who had somehow changed her body. Yet she wasn't afraid. She felt connected to them in a way she couldn't explain. I want to meet her, Gia said. The Queen. I want to thank her for saving me. Day smiled. His face moved in a strange way when he did this, as if he was still learning how to use human expressions. She wants to meet you too. She has never met anyone like you before, someone who would risk their life for a stranger. Day led Gia deeper into the cave. As they walked, the small glowing insects followed them, lighting their way. Gia noticed that the deeper they went, the more her body seemed to tingle. It was as if something was pulling her forward. What is that feeling? She asked. The Queen is calling you, Day said. The part of her inside you is responding. They entered a huge open space much larger than the cave where Gia had found the crystal. This room was clearly not natural. The walls were smooth and covered in designs that glowed with different colors. The floor was flat and polished. In the center of the room was the creature from the crystal. Now free from its container, Gia could see it clearly. It was beautiful in a strange way. Its body was long and elegant, with many limbs that moved gracefully. Its wings were folded against its back, transparent and rainbow-colored. Its eyes, dozens of them, turned to look at Gia as she entered. Queen Mother, Day said, bowing low, I have brought her. Gia felt a presence push against her mind. It was gentle but strong, like waves on a beach. Then words formed in her head. Welcome, Gia Kim of Earth. Thank you for saving this vessel. The voice in her head was warm and kind. Gia found herself smiling. You're welcome. And thank you for saving me too. Your act was selfless. You did not know what I was, yet you risked yourself to protect me. It seemed like the right thing to do, Gia said simply. Among my people, such an act has meaning. Great meaning. The Queen moved closer. She was massive, nearly 3 times Gia's height, yet her movements were delicate and precise. I have begun the connection between us. Can you feel it? Gia nodded. I feel something, like I'm not alone in my head anymore. That is just the beginning. There is more to come if you accept. Accept what? Gia asked. Among the Hive there is a tradition. One who saves the Queen becomes part of the royal line, becomes connected to all of us in a special way. Day stepped forward. The Queen is offering you great honor, Gia Kim. She is offering to make you like her. Gia's eyes widened. Like her? But I'm human. You would stay human, the Queen's voice explained in her mind. But you would also be Hive. You would be a bridge between our peoples. The first of your kind to join with us. What would that mean? What would happen to me? You would change, your mind would grow, you would hear the thoughts of all the Hive. You would help guide us, and you would never be alone again. Gia thought about her life before. She had always been an outsider. Too smart, too focused on her work, few friends, no family left. Her whole life had been about discovering new things. Now she was being offered the chance to become something new herself. I need time to think, she said. Of course, the Queen replied in her mind. The changing has already begun, but the final step must be your choice. Rest now. Day will show you where you can sleep. We will talk again when you are ready. As Gia followed Day to a small side chamber with a bed made of soft, moss-like material, she felt the presence of the hive all around her. Through her new connection, she could sense their curiosity about her. They had never met a human before. Gia lay down and closed her eyes. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in her life, she wasn't facing the unknown, alone. Thousands of minds watched over her as she slept, waiting for her decision. The decision that would change not just her life, but the future of two species. Gia slept deeply that night in the strange moss bed. When she woke up, Day was waiting for her. He stood very still by the entrance to her small room. His human-like form seemed more natural today, as if he was getting better at using it. "Did you sleep well?" he asked. Gia nodded. "Better than I expected. How long was I asleep?" "Almost a full day cycle," Day said. "Your body is still adjusting to the changes." Gia sat up and looked at her hands. They looked normal, but they felt different somehow. Her skin had a slight glow to it, especially when she moved. "The Queen would like to see you," Day said. "She has much to show you." Gia stood up. Her body felt stronger than before. "I'm ready." Day led her through tunnels that seemed to glow with soft light. Gia noticed small details she had missed before. The walls weren't just rock. They were covered in tiny patterns that changed color as she passed. The floor under her feet felt warm and slightly soft, as if it was alive. "Is everything here living?" she asked. Day nodded. "The hive builds by growing, not by making." These tunnels were grown over many years. They entered a new room Gia hadn't seen before. It was smaller than the Queen's main chamber, but still impressive. The walls were lined with strange objects that looked like a mix between plants and computers. In the center of the room was a small version of the crystal where Gia had first found the Queen. The Queen was waiting for them. She seemed even larger in this smaller space. Her many eyes turned to look at Gia. "You have rested." "That is good," the Queen's voice said in Gia's mind. "Today I will show you what it means to be part of the hive." The Queen moved one of her delicate limbs toward the small crystal in the center of the room. As she touched it, the crystal began to glow. "This is a memory crystal," Day explained. "It holds the history of our people." Images suddenly appeared in Gia's mind. She saw the hive's homeworld, a place with 3 moons and endless forests. She saw how they built their first cities underground to stay safe from large predators. She watched as they learned to grow their buildings and their tools instead of making them. The images moved faster. She saw the hive discover space travel. She saw them visit other worlds and meet other beings. She saw them come to this planet, Nexus 9, hundreds of years ago. "We were here long before humans," the Queen's voice explained. "When your kind arrived, we watched from below. We wanted to learn about you before we showed ourselves." The images stopped, and Gia took a deep breath. It felt like she had lived through thousands of years in just a few minutes. "That was amazing," she said. "You showed me your memories." "Just a small part," the Queen replied. "There is much more. And now, if you choose, your memories will join ours." Gia walked slowly around the room thinking. "You want me to become part of your hive mind, to share everything I am with you? Yes, but you will not lose yourself. You will grow. You will become more." Gia stopped in front of a strange mirror-like surface. She looked at her reflection and gasped. Her eyes had changed. They still looked human, but colors swirled in them like tiny galaxies. "The changes have already begun," Day said. "Your body is preparing for the final connection." "What if I say no?" Gia asked. "What if I want to go back to my people?" The Queen moved closer to Gia. Her presence was overwhelming, but not scary. "You may leave if you wish. We will help you return to the surface. The changes we made to help you breathe will slowly fade. You will return to being as you were." Gia could feel the truth in these words. The Queen would not force her to stay. But something else pulled at her mind. A sense of belonging she had never felt before. And if I stay, if I agree to this connection, what would happen? You would become a bridge queen, the queen explained. A new kind of royal, between human and hive. You would help us understand, humans. You would help humans understand us. And when you return to your people, you would never be truly apart from us. Gia closed her eyes. In her mind, she could feel the light touch of thousands of other minds waiting at the edge of her thoughts. They were curious but respectful. They did not push. Will it hurt? She asked. There will be pain, the queen admitted. To join minds completely is not easy, but it will pass quickly. Gia thought about her life. She had always wanted to discover something amazing, to make a difference in how humans understood the universe. This was her chance to do something no human had ever done before. I'll do it, she said finally. I want to become the bridge queen. The queen's happiness flowed into Gia's mind like warm sunshine. Around them, the small worker creatures began to hum with excitement. Prepare the royal chamber, the queen ordered, and dozens of workers rushed away to obey. Day smiled at Gia. You have made a brave choice. Your name will be remembered by the hive for all time. They led Gia to a new chamber deep in the hive's underground city. This room was clearly special. The walls were lined with the same crystal material that had held the queen. In the center was a pool of shimmering liquid that glowed with soft blue light. The royal bath, Day explained. It will help complete your transformation. Several female-shaped hive members approached Gia. They wore flowing robes, made of a thin silk-like material. They will help you prepare, the queen said. I must make my own preparations. The joining of minds requires much energy. As the queen left, the female hive members helped Gia remove her dirty scientist uniform. They gave her a robe similar to theirs and led her to the edge of the pool. The liquid will not harm you, one of them said. Her voice was musical and light. It will help your body accept the final changes. Gia touched the liquid. It felt cool and tingly against her skin. She took a deep breath and stepped into the pool. The liquid came up to her waist. It didn't feel wet like water. Instead, it felt like she was standing in cool, thick air. The female hive members began to sing in voices that seemed to come from everywhere at once. As they sang, the liquid around Gia began to glow brighter. It started to climb up her body on its own, covering her completely. Gia should have been afraid, but she felt only peace. The liquid entered her mouth, her nose, her ears, but she could still breathe. It filled her lungs and spread throughout her body. Every cell seemed to wake up and sing along with the hive song. Then the pain came, just as the queen had warned. It felt like fire in her veins. Gia wanted to scream, but she had no voice. The pain spread to her head, and she felt like her skull might crack open. Just when she thought she couldn't bear it anymore, the pain stopped. In its place came a flood of voices, thoughts, and feelings. Thousands of minds suddenly connected to hers. The entire hive welcomed her, their new bridge queen. Gia opened her eyes. The world looked different now. She could see colors she had never seen before. She could feel the presence of every hive member nearby. And in the center of her mind, like a bright star, was the Queen Mother, guiding her. Welcome, Bridge Queen, the Queen's voice said in her mind, but now it was much clearer than before. Now you understand what it means to be hive. Gia stepped out of the pool. Her body felt new and strange, but also right. The female hive members bowed to her as they dressed her in a beautiful robe made of shimmering material. What happens now? Gia asked. Her voice sounded different to her own ears, richer somehow. Now, said the queen, we prepare to meet your people. It is time for humans to know they are not alone on this world. Gia smiled. She was no longer just a human scientist. She was bridge queen of the hive, and she had a feeling that the universe would never be the same again. 3 weeks had passed since Gia disappeared in the cave. At the human base on Nexus 9, everyone believed she was dead. The rescue teams had searched for days but found only collapsed tunnels. They had held a small memorial service for her and sent a message to Earth about the loss of their scientist. Director Jun ran the human base. He was a serious man who had known Gia for 5 years. Her death made him sad and angry. He sat in his office looking at reports when his computer beeped with an urgent message. "Director, we have strange readings from the eastern caves," said the voice of Hana, the base security chief. "Something is moving toward the surface. Something big." Jun frowned. "Are you sure it's not just another cave-in?" "No, sir. These are organized movements. And there's some kind of energy signature we've never seen before." Jun stood up. "I'll be right there." In the control room, Hana pointed to a screen showing a map of the underground cave systems. Red dots showed movement coming up from deep below. "Whatever it is, it's coming up fast," Hana said. "And look at this." She switched to another screen showing energy readings. "This pattern almost looks like brain activity, but it's massive." "Get a team ready," Jun ordered. "Full protection gear. I want to see what's coming up from those caves." As the team prepared, the ground began to shake. Not violently like an earthquake, but in a steady rhythm, like giant footsteps. People ran outside to see what was happening. Near the cave entrance where Gia had disappeared 3 weeks ago, the ground bulged upward. Then it split open. The humans backed away, weapons ready. From the opening emerged strange insect-like creatures, each one about the size of a dog. They lined up on either side of the hole, making a path. Their bodies glowed with soft blue light. "Hold. Your fire," Jun ordered the security team. "But stay alert." Next came larger insect creatures carrying what looked like glowing plants that lit the area with colorful light. They too moved to the sides, making the path wider. Then a figure stepped out that made everyone gasp. It looked almost human, but not quite. It was clearly male in shape, but its skin glowed faintly and its eyes were too big and too colorful. "I am Day," the figure said in perfect human language. "I speak for the Hive. We come in peace." Jun stepped forward cautiously. "I am Director Jun. What is the Hive? Where did you come from?" "We have always been here," Day said. "Below the surface. We watched when humans first came to this world." Before Jun could respond, the ground shook again. From the opening emerged a creature that made everyone step back in fear. It was huge, at least 12 feet tall, with many limbs and dozens of glowing eyes. It looked like a giant, elegant insect with colorful, see-through wings folded against its back. "The Queen Mother," Day announced. The humans raised their weapons instinctively. The Queen Mother stopped, her many eyes blinking. "Please," Day said quickly. "We mean no harm. We have come because of Gia Kim." Jun's face hardened. "Dr. Kim died in these caves 3 weeks ago. What do you know about that?" "Gia Kim is not dead," Day said. A murmur went through the crowd of humans. Jun stepped forward. "Where is she? What have you done with her?" "She saved our Queen Mother when the cave collapsed," Day explained. "In doing so, she nearly died herself. We saved her, and now she has become something new, something wonderful." The Queen Mother moved to the side, revealing the entrance to the tunnel again. Another figure was emerging. As it came into the light, the humans gasped again. It was Gia, but changed. Her skin had a faint glow, and her eyes swirled with colors. She wore a flowing robe made of a shimmering material that seemed to change color as she moved. Around her head was what looked like a living crown made of the same crystal material that had pieces of it woven into her hair. She moved with grace. That seemed not quite human. "Gia?" Jun whispered in shock. Gia smiled. "Hello, Jun. It's good to see you again. What happened to you?" he asked, staring at her changed appearance. "I found something amazing," Gia said. "Or maybe it found me." She gestured to the Queen Mother beside her. "Let me introduce you to the Nexan Hive. They've been our neighbors. For a long time, but they've been hiding. Until now." Jun looked back and forth between Gia and the massive insect queen. "You're working with them. What did they do to you?" "They saved me, Jun. I was dying when the cave collapsed. They changed me so I could breathe their air. And then they offered me a choice." "What choice?" "To become a bridge between our worlds." Gia touched the crystal crown on her head. I am now what they call a bridge queen. I am still human, but I am also connected to the Hive-Mind. I can hear their thoughts. They can hear mine. June looked concerned. Is this some kind of mind control? Are they forcing you to say these things? Gia laughed, and the sound was still her own. No, June, I'm still me, just more than I was before I chose this. The humans and the Nexans stood facing each other, two very different forms of life trying to understand each other. The tension in the air was thick. Why reveal yourselves now? June asked. If you've been hiding all this time, why come out? Because of Gia, Day explained. In our culture, one who saves the queen becomes royal themselves. But Gia is not Nexan. She is human. She is the first bridge queen connected to both worlds. Through her, we can finally talk to each other, learn from each other. And what do you want from us? June's voice was suspicious. Gia stepped forward. They want peace, Jun. They want to share knowledge. The Nexans have technologies we've never dreamed of. They can grow buildings instead of making them. They can change bodies to survive in different environments. They can share memories directly from mind to mind. And what do they get in return? June asked. New ideas, Gia said. The Hive thinks as one mind. They're amazing at working together, but they don't have our creativity, our ability to think as individuals. They find us fascinating. The Queen Mother moved forward slowly, careful not to frighten the humans. She reached out one delicate limb toward June. From it hung a small crystal, similar to the material in Gia's crown, but smaller. A gift. Day translated. The first of many exchanges between our peoples. June hesitated, then reached out and took the crystal. As he touched it, it glowed briefly. What is it? He asked. A memory crystal, Gia explained. It contains the history of the Nexans on this world, their first contact with us. She smiled. It's a good start to a friendship, don't you think? Over the next few hours, the humans and Nexans began the awkward process of getting to know each other. The Nexans showed amazing patience as the humans asked endless questions. Gia moved between both groups, helping them understand each other. Late that night, June found Gia sitting alone looking up at the stars. Are you really happy with this change? He asked her quietly. Gia touched her crown lightly. It's strange sometimes, never being alone in your own head. But it's also wonderful, Jun. I can feel the thoughts of thousands of minds. I can see colors I never knew existed. I understand things that would have taken human scientists centuries to learn. Will you stay with them? June asked. Or come back to us? Gia smiled. I don't have to choose. That's the point of being a bridge queen. I belong to both worlds now. She looked back at the stars. And I have a feeling that's exactly what both our peoples need right now. 2 months had passed since the Nexans had revealed themselves to the humans on Nexus 9. Things had changed quickly since that day. Ships from Earth had arrived bringing scientists, diplomats, and curious visitors. The human base had grown 3 times larger. New buildings were being built every day. But the most amazing new buildings were the ones the Nexans helped create. These structures were partly grown and partly built. They curved in beautiful ways that normal buildings could not. They changed color with the temperature and healed themselves when damaged. Everyone agreed they were better than regular human buildings. Today was a special day. It was the official coronation of Gia as Bridge Queen. Both humans and Nexans had worked together to prepare for this event. Gia stood in a room inside the Nexan underground city. She looked at herself in a mirror. Her appearance had continued to change over the past months. Her skin now had a gentle glow that was stronger when she felt strong emotions. Her eyes swirled with colors that changed with her thoughts. The crystal crown that had started as a small circlet had grown more complex, with delicate strands that wove through her hair and touched her temples. Her coronation dress was a mix of human and Nexan design. It was made of flowing white material from Earth, but decorated with living crystals and color-changing threads created by the Nexans. It shifted between blue, purple, and gold as she moved. Are you ready? Asked Day, who had become her closest friend among the Nexans. Gia took a deep breath. I think so. There will be so many people watching. You will do well, Day assured her. Both our peoples respect you. You have already done more to bring us together than anyone thought possible. It was true. In the 2 months since first contact, Gia had helped humans and Nexans understand each other. She had explained human individuality to the Hive. She had helped humans grasp the beauty of shared consciousness. Small steps toward trust had been taken on both sides. The Queen Mother is waiting, Day said gently. It is time. Gia nodded and followed Day through the tunnel system. These days she could feel the presence of the entire Hive in her mind. Thousands of minds connected to hers, sharing their thoughts and feelings. It had been overwhelming at first, but now it felt normal. She was never truly alone anymore. They emerged from the main tunnel entrance into the bright daylight. A large open area had been prepared for the ceremony. On one side stood hundreds of humans dressed in their best clothes. On the other side were thousands of Nexans of all sizes, their bodies gleaming in the sunlight. In the center was a raised platform where the Queen Mother waited. Her enormous form seemed even more impressive in the daylight. Her wings were fully extended today, creating a canopy of rainbow colors above the platform. As Gia walked forward, both humans and Nexans fell silent. She could feel their mixed emotions. The humans felt awe and a little fear. The Nexans felt pride and curiosity. She smiled at both groups as she passed. Jun stood at the front of the human section, wearing his formal uniform. Next to him was Ambassador Kim, who had arrived from Earth just last week. They both bowed slightly as Gia passed. Gia climbed the steps to the platform and stood before the Queen Mother. Though they shared thoughts daily through their mental link, this formal meeting was important for everyone to see. Today, the Queen Mother spoke aloud in the human language which she had learned quickly through the Hive-Mind. We celebrate a new chapter for both our peoples. Her voice was strange but beautiful, like music with words. Gia Kim saved my life without knowing who I was. She risked herself for a stranger. There is no greater act of kindness. The Queen Mother raised one delicate limb. At its tip was a new crown, more elaborate than the one Gia already wore. It glowed with inner light. In the tradition of the Nexan Hive, one who saves the Queen becomes royal themselves. Today we make this officially known to all. Gia knelt before the Queen Mother, the giant insect being carefully removed Gia's current crown. There was a moment of strange emptiness as Gia's connection to the Hive weakened. Then the Queen Mother placed the new crown on Gia's head. The connection returned stronger than before. Gia gasped as she felt the thoughts of not just thousands but millions of Nexans. She could sense the entire Hive across the planet, from the smallest worker to the oldest elder. They all welcomed her into their shared mind. Rise, Bridge Queen. Gia, the Queen Mother said. First of your kind. Connection between worlds. Gia stood and turned to face the crowd. The humans clapped and cheered while the Nexans made a humming sound that filled the air with harmony. Ambassador Kim stepped forward with a gift from Earth. It was a beautiful blue sash decorated with stars. The people of Earth recognize your unique position, she said as she placed the sash over Gia's shoulder. You are the first human ambassador to a truly alien mind. We honor your courage and sacrifice. Jun was next. He carried a small plant in a pot. This is the first hybrid plant, he explained, created by human and Nexan scientists working together. It can grow in both our environments. We've named it the Gia flower. The plant had beautiful blue petals that glowed faintly in the center. Gia touched it gently and felt its simple life force respond to her. Now it was Gia's turn to speak. She looked out at the mixed crowd of humans and Nexans. When I first came to Nexus 9, I was looking for new plants to study, she began. I never expected to find a new civilization. I never expected to become part of that civilization. She touched her new crown lightly. I'm still human. I still love ice cream and watching old movies. I still miss the rain on Earth and the smell of fresh bread. But I am also Nexan now. I can feel the joy of shared thoughts. I understand the beauty of many minds working as one. She smiled at both groups. I stand between two ways of being. Both are valuable. Both are beautiful in their own way. Humans have creativity and passion that comes from being separate minds. Nexans have harmony and understanding that comes from being connected. Together, we can learn from each other and become more than we could alone. As she spoke, small glowing insects began to circle her. They were young Nexans drawn to the strong emotions in her words. Their light made patterns in the air around her, emphasizing her speech. Today is not just my coronation, Gia continued. It's the beginning of a new relationship between our peoples. Next week, the first human volunteers will join with the Hive-Mind in a limited way. They will be able to share thoughts with the Nexans but keep their human individuality. At the same time, some Nexans have volunteered to try living separately, to experience the world as humans do. She held out her hands to both sides. This is just the start. Together we will discover new ways of thinking, new technologies, new art forms that neither of us could create alone. When the ceremony was over, Gia walked among both groups, talking with humans and connecting mentally with Nexans. She moved easily between both worlds, comfortable in each. Later that evening, she stood alone on a hillside, looking up at the stars. She felt June approach before she heard him. "Quite a day," he said, standing beside her. "How does it feel to be royalty?" Gia laughed. "Strange. I never wanted to be special. I just wanted to learn new things." "Well, you certainly did that." June looked up at the stars with her. "Do you ever regret your choice? Becoming what you are now?" Gia was quiet for a moment. Through her link with the hive, she could feel thousands of Nexans going about their lives. Some were building, some were teaching young ones, some were creating art. All were connected, all were part of a greater whole. And now she was part of that whole too. "No," she said finally. "I miss some things about my old life, but what I've gained is amazing. I'm not just learning about a new species, Jun. I'm experiencing what it means to be them. No human has ever had that chance before." She turned to look at the lights of the human base in the distance. "Besides," she added with a smile, "I didn't really lose my humanity. I just added something new to it." As night fell completely, Gia's glowing skin became more visible. The stars above were reflected in her swirling eyes. She was neither fully human nor fully Nexan, but something new. A bridge between two worlds, the first of her kind, but not the last. The journey that had begun with a simple act of kindness in a dark cave had led to this moment. Gia hadn't known what she was saving that day, and she couldn't have imagined what she would become. But standing, under the stars, feeling the connection to millions of minds while still holding on to her human heart, she knew she wouldn't change a thing.